Now that we've covered the project lifecycle and market analysis, we get to dive into the different costs associated with the development project. And here's where we really start to separate development from acquisitions. You're literally building from the ground up, so there are the obvious costs of that you can see, but there's also a lot more costs that you may not think of right away. At a very high level, we have two categories of costs during the development process: hard costs and soft costs. Hard costs consist of expenses directly related to the physical construction of the building, and soft costs are any expenses not directly related to the construction costs. I'll expand on this more, but just for example, hard costs would be things like physical materials, lumber, concrete, steel, and soft costs could be things like your architectural design, engineering, those sort of costs. So hard costs can also be referred to as your brick and mortar costs, and they're associated with the building structure, the site, and the landscaping. These are your tangible items. They're the things that you can put your hands on, and they're things that are a lot easier to estimate. Buildings are usually priced at a per square foot basis or a per unit basis, and you have a lot to go off of for your estimates. You have your previous projects, you have other developers in the market, so you can see what they're building to, and you can get these costs pretty close with estimates just by doing simple outreach to your GC and other contractors. And I'm sort of oversimplifying it here because there's a lot that goes into your hard costs that you really have to sharpen your pencil on to make sure you're not paying too much and you're incentivizing your GC to come in under budget, maybe with some shared cost savings, but we'll talk about that when we get into structuring deals. In addition to the physical materials, your GC will also have the labor for all the subcontractors that's included in your hard costs. All of your site work is another separate category of hard costs, and that includes your underground utilities, your grading, your paving, everything that's needed to prep your site for construction. So then we also have soft costs, and these can be a bit more nuanced. They're less visible than hard costs, and with that, these costs can sneak up on you and really hurt a project's success if you don't really take the care to dial them in. There's definitely standards and percentages that you can use to estimate your soft costs before you really get started, but as you're putting your budget together, you really have to go line by line to a lot of different vendors to really get accurate numbers here. So what are they? They're the costs not directly related to the physical materials or the labor needed to construct the building. This is your architecture, your engineering, inspections, environmental reports, accounting, permits is another big one. You have your legal and taxes. Depending on your scope of project, you can have all sorts of legal expenses that can really add up. So these are the main costs associated with development project. And then you have a whole different set of expenses once the building is up and running that we call operating expenses, and we'll cover that in the next video.